Illuminated Bible Story Book for Young People by Elizabeth Morton. Printed in the U.S.A., copyright 1927, published by the John C. Winston Company, Chicago, Philadelphia, Toronto. Includes 20 colored illustrations. Today's reading is The Boy Who Was Sold as a Slave. When Jacob became a man, he was very rich, with tents and camels and flocks and servants. He and his 12 sons lived in the land of Canaan. One of his sons he loved better than all the rest, and that one was Joseph, the youngest but one. Joseph was good and kind and thoughtful, and no doubt was just the kind of boy that a father would be very proud of. Joseph's brothers, however, were not always good, and sometimes when they did a wrong deed, Joseph would tell his father how wrongly they behaved. And when Jacob gave to Joseph a wonderful striped coat of many colors, thus showing that he was a favorite, the brothers began to hate him and even refused to speak kindly to him. When Joseph was about 17 years old, he had a strange dream. He dreamed that he and his brothers were in a field binding sheaves, and that his sheaf stood up and his brothers' sheaves bowed down to his sheaf. The brothers were very angry when Joseph told them this dream. They said to him, "Do you think that someday you are going to rule over us, and that we shall bow down to you?" Soon Joseph dreamed again. This time he dreamed that the sun and the moon and 11 stars all bowed down before him. Joseph wondered about the meaning of this dream, and of course when he told his brothers about it, they hated him even more. Now it happened that one day, when 10 of the brothers were taking care of their sheep at a place about 50 miles away, Jacob wished to send a message to his sons. So he called Joseph to him and told him to go see his brothers and find if they were well. Joseph did not tell his father how unkind his brothers had been to him, but he started out alone on his long journey of 50 miles. When he came to the place, he could not find them. But at last a man told him that they had gone on to Dothan to find better pasture for their flocks. Then Joseph walked on to Dothan, and when his brothers saw him coming, some of them were so wicked that they began to plan how they might get rid of him. They even thought of killing him. But the oldest brother, Reuben, felt more kindly than the others toward Joseph, so he thought that the best plan would be to put him into a great pit. He intended to come back later and lift Joseph out of the pit. The other brothers agreed to Reuben's plan, and when Joseph came up to them, they seized him, tore off his beautiful coat, and threw him into the empty pit. There they left the poor lad, while they sat down on the grass to eat. Joseph cried and begged them to save him, but they paid no heed to his cries. Presently, in the distance, they saw a company of traders riding along on camels. They were merchants going to sell spices and perfumed gum to the Egyptians. In the meantime, Reuben had chanced to go on to another part of the field, so Judah, another of Joseph's brothers, thought, "Here is an excellent chance to gain some money. Why not sell Joseph to these traders, and so get rid of him rather than leave him to die in the pit?" So they drew Joseph out of the pit. And when the traders saw what a fine, strong young fellow he was, they were glad to pay 20 pieces of silver for him, and they carried him off to Egypt. How Joseph begged his cruel brothers to save him and not send him away as a slave from his father. But the brothers were busy dividing the money among themselves, and perhaps rejoicing that they were rid of this dreamer, as they called him. And when Reuben came back and found that Joseph had disappeared, he tore his coat as a sign of grief. "The child is gone! What shall I do?" he cried. Then the brothers told Reuben what they had done, and they all agreed to deceive Jacob their father. They took Joseph's coat and then killed a kid and dipped the coat in the blood. When they reached home, they showed the blood-stained coat to Jacob. "We found this coat in the wilderness," they said, "and we do not know whether it is your son's coat or not." Jacob knew the striped coat only too well. "Alas," he cried, "it is my son's coat." Some evil beast must have eaten him. And he mourned and wept and would not be comforted. So Jacob grieved for Joseph. And all this time the wicked brothers would not tell their father that they had sold the boy as a slave into Egypt.